The Mariners lost the series to the Chicago Cubs in heartbreaking fashion. We're going to go over the 3 games that the Mariners played against the Cubs at home, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the players and how they are taking these losses, including Julio Rodriguez. What's wrong with Julio? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to go quickly into the Red Series and talk about the pitching matchups there. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 78 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network, the Jose Godoy episode of the podcast. And I'm here with Joseph. Joe, how are you?
Jose Godoy is a name. I
Yeah.
was
Tell me what position he played.
catcher. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Nicely done.
I don't know. It just sounds like a catching name. Like I couldn't tell you anything that he did, regardless. Like playing wise,
1 year.
if he had any innings, couldn't even tell you. But maybe he could be useful to this Mariners team right now in some capacity because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of guys on the team that are that overly useful. And I'm being dramatic, but Jose Godoy instead of maybe Sebi Zavala? Who says no? Probably, a smart man, a
Probably
betting man, even. You know what I mean? So if you'd rather bet on Sebi Zavala than Jose Godoy, do it with Bet Online. Thank you once again to Bet Online for being the sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast here. Bet Online is your guys' #1 source for all the summer sports action from the MLB to the NBA to the NHL, even to golf. Bet Online has you guys covered with all the latest stats, news, and scores available to you guys to follow your favorite teams or specific players as well. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, on any sport that you really could think of. Head to the website today or even use your mobile device to get in on the action. You guys know that BetOnline has some of the best mobile coverage and desktop coverage, ease of access, so you can place your bets anywhere. And if I'm being honest with you, the MLB season, it's kicking off. Now's the time to get in. Like everybody's kind of like back in the groove. MLB would be my sport to bet on right now. Head to Bet Online, use promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, on your first deposit for that 50% welcome bonus. Bet Online, where the game starts. Well, you've told me that you actually have a lot to kind of talk about this Cubs series with. The first game was good overall, and the second game wasn't it wasn't great. But the third game definitely it progressively just got worse and worse. And heartbreak fashion, like you mentioned, the final game, it just was. I would rather get stomped into the ground by 50 than lose a game like we did that final one against the Cubs. Colton, let me hear your thoughts because it seems like you've got a lot you want to say about this Cubs series.
So let's go game by game here, Joe, and talk a little bit about game 1 with Bryce Miller on the mound versus Jordan Wicks. And Miller once again pitched pretty well. He went 6 2/3 innings before, unfortunately, walking the last batter of that inning. Scott was going to let him go out there and try to finish it, but he did walk the last batter of that inning, and that was that for Bryce Miller. In that game, the one game the Mariners won in this series, they won 4-2. And it came on the back of a Julio Rodriguez single with the bases loaded to center field. The Cody Bellinger almost caught. And then, of course, a single from Ty France as well to score another run in the 4th inning. The Mariners were able to ride that the rest of the way through that game. Bryce Miller continues to be good, Joe.
He is. It's one of those situations where I'm looking back to me during the offseason, hell bent on trading him just for like the sake of like making mock trades. Wow, what a cataclysmic mistake that could have been, given one, the struggles of George Kirby and Luis Castillo, Brian Woo's injury, and just, a multitude of different things. Bryce Miller has impressed me a ton so far early in this season, and he definitely did enough. Like, obviously, did plenty. He has kept us in the ball games, last 2 starts, to win them, and the Mariners have done that. And I would go as even so far to say, in game 2, Emerson Hancock did just that against Shota Imanaga as well, except the Mariners are facing Shota Imanaga, not Jordan Wicks. And yes, basically, I think it was the same lineup because you're facing a lefty again. Shota Imanaga's mainly fastballs, but
Only difference was Cal got the day off.
Sure, that's a good point. Yeah, Sebi behind the dish there, but regardless of that, I think the differences between game 1 and game 2 was largely the offense, because Hancock, I think, did fine. We knew going into that game it was going to be an uphill an uphill battle, like a little bit, but I think it was not as bad as we thought by any means. And did the Mariners waste a decent start from Hancock with a putrid offense once again? Kinda.
Hancock was good. Like I know that there's been a lot of talk about, sending him to the minors, maybe turning him into a reliever, what have you. There's been talk everywhere, but in 2 of his 3 starts, Hancock has given the team a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple, he has. The problem for the Mariners was they were facing one of the best pitchers in baseball right now, in Shota Imanaga. He still has yet to give up an earned run in his major league career in 16 innings pitched or something like that. But for Hancock, he went 6 innings pitched, giving up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. One of them was a home run that he did give up. Like you said, the Mariners' offense was just stinky. Stinky offense, bad offense. The only run coming when Mitch Haniger was able to get on base because Michael Busch can't catch a baseball. He can only hit them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw a Luis Urias double to score. I think it was Mitch Haniger that was running there.
Yeah.
To score Mitch Haniger. Now, later on in that game, there were opportunities for the Mariners, but unfortunately, Christopher Morel just all of a sudden turned into a defensive whiz over there at third base and basically kept the Mariners right where they were with just the 1 run. So game 2, it's a game that I expected to lose, honestly, just because it's Hancock on the mound. It's the Mariners number 5, who has been, we're still on the fence. What are we going to see out of Emerson Hancock? I have a lot more to say about Hancock, but I'll save it for like another video or something.
Okay.
Because I don't think he's as bad as everyone thinks he is.
Okay. Yeah.
But you're facing Shota Imanaga, who has been lights out, and he showed why he is so good. And it's not overpowering stuff for Imanaga either. He throws like 93, but it's just the fact that he has that devastating splitter as well that just falls off the table. Those 2 things, when you're a Seattle Mariners offense that is struggling right now. Everything is on the offense right now. Like, I know we were blaming things on the pitching like a week or 2 ago. Everything's on this offense right now. It's bad. And that leads us, Joe, into game 3. This is obviously where the meat and potatoes of this conversation is going to be. Joe, I don't want to, but let's talk about game 3.
Okay. So Luis Castillo had a quality start. 6 innings. First time he's reached the 6th inning this year. Struck out, 7? Is that what it was?
Did give up? I think he struck out 9.
Or was it 9?
You struck out 9, yeah.
Okay. Struck out 9. My apologies. My apologies, Luis. Selling you short there. But did give up 3 earned runs. And it was, only 2. Was there an error?
2. Yeah, his error. So it should still be an earned run. Right. But his error made it.
I've already repressed so much about this game, and we're like 4 hours removed from it. Yeah, the little like infield, it was a swinging bunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he just like completely just bottled the play. Regardless, 3 runs to Castillo's name, and the Mariners had their opportunities. The Cubs were practically trying to give them this game, it felt like. Numerous occasions. And the offense just came up short once again. I would say Luis kept you in this game enough. Mm-hmm. Facing Javier Assad, a guy that mainly throws fastballs, the broadcast was talking about it. Like, there was no tomorrow. That's like not the only thing that Goldie and like Blowers could talk about, but that is something that they're pretty much fixated on, because we knew going into this series or throughout the majority of this year that the Mariners were seeing a lot of breaking and off-speed stuff. If you got a guy on the mound, same thing with Imanaga the previous day, was mainly a fastball pitcher with, an occasion. I mean, Imanaga's more so like a 2-pitch guy with a fastball and a splitter. Assad's 2 fastballs and then an occasional breaking ball. And they still just couldn't really get anything done against him. And we all know where this conversation is heading. And it happens in the 7th, first in the 7th, then again in the 8th, and we cap it off in the 9th with glorious, glorious baseball. Colton, do you want to run us through that?
No,
I don't either. That's why I'm passing I'm passing it to you now.
Appreciate that. Thanks,
I don't want to talk about it.
So it basically just starts with just terrible situational hitting and base running for the Seattle Mariners. We all know what happened. We're going to talk a lot about Julio Rodriguez here in a second. But first, it starts with runners on first and third with Luke Raley up to the plate, who admittedly has not had many opportunities so far this year. We all know that. But the at-bat that he put together was like 5 seconds long.
Uh-huh.
He grounded out into a double play when the Mariners had the tying run on third base with 1 out. They had been putting together a little bit of a rally in basically all 3 of the final innings. So I do have to give props to the Mariners offense there. And I don't want to nail into everybody just, oh, the offense is so bad, blah, blah, because we all know it. Like, you don't need me to tell you how bad this team is right now. At first, I thought it was funny because they were 6-9 after the Imanaga start. And I'm like, maybe that's what they were going for.
Mm-hmm.
And now they go.
Nice.
But then they lose. So Luke Raley at the plate grounds into a double play. It's unacceptable on the first pitch, nonetheless. If it had been like the 6th, 7th, 8th pitch, okay. But you go up there first pitch swinging and you ground into a double play? No. If you're going up there, you need to be looking for a damaged pitch. And clearly that wasn't one. He put a bad swing on the baseball. And again, has not had a lot of opportunities. I'm actually more upset with Ty France, who in the next inning, with I think it was the bases loaded?
Yeah. Bases
loaded, Ty France. And again, Luke Raley's was like 105 miles an hour off the bat. He hit it hard. It just unfortunately was right at somebody. So I give him a bit of a pass. Who would have thought that would be like the 3rd worst thing that happened in the game?
Maybe 4th.
Maybe like 4th.
Canzone's injury is like,
it
could be bad.
Let's talk about Canzone's injury really quick because that means we're going to be seeing Luke Raley more. We are. AC joint strain or sprain, right?
Yeah.
For Canzone. I mean, that was rough, man. He held onto the baseball somehow.
Catch, yeah.
I know I couldn't have, but I just don't think he realized the wall was coming up on him so quick.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it.
Caught him off guard.
He was like turned like this and just right into it, and it like turned his on. Yeah. I don't know. That was rough, and it was tough to see him out there in so much pain. They did put Demo out there, and Demo had another great game. I know that obviously Luke Raley will probably get the lion's share, especially versus right-handed pitching, but I mean, I think we'll definitely see Demo in there versus righties once in a while because he has looked good. Ideally for Canzone, he's able to... They're going to put him on the IL. We've already talked about that, and we'll go into a little bit here in just a second about who they're going to bring up for him once we finish talking about Game 3 here. But they are going to bring somebody up, but I think that Raley and Demo are going to basically just share it out there. Maybe it is a strict platoon. I'm not sure. In the 8th inning, Tyler Lawrence France, who has been the Mariners' best hitter this year by and large. Like, no doubt. What's he hitting right now? Where's he at on here?
He was hitting like above 300 or around
he's
it.
280. 280 now.
Yeah, dropped down
today. He unfortunately, bases loaded, 1 out again. Mariners have the tying run on second, the go-ahead run on second, the tying run on third, and he grounds into a double play. The Ty France of 2023 showed back up. After all the good things that France has done so far this year, it was the same old, unfortunately. And I think he's fine. I'm not going to say this one double play means that 2023 Ty France is back. No. It's just you can't have that kind of, and he saw a couple pitches, but you cannot ground into a double play there. You can't. I would 10 times out of 10 rather you strike out.
Give you another chance instead of
and let Demo come up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's just the fact. That's just what happened. And now we get to the 9th inning. This point, Adbert Alzolay's on the mound. It's like, okay, well, it's GG's. Like, this Mariners offense. They had what, 5 hits? 5 hits today. First 2 outs came pretty quickly. They brought Cal Raleigh up, and he singles through the right side. They pinch run Julio Rodriguez, who was getting a mental break, which sometime during this series, I said he needed to have a day off, and they gave it to him, which is good. But then putting Julio Rodriguez in, 100% the right decision. There are people that are saying, well, why they shouldn't have put him in at all. It was his day off. No, that is the right decision to put Julio Rodriguez, your fastest runner, over there at first base. And Julio just got caught. He made a dumb mental mistake. 9 times out of 10, he doesn't do that. He doesn't make that mistake. Unfortunately, he did in a very big... And it was 2 outs. The very next pitch, it was Luke Raley at the plate. The very next pitch, he could have popped out to the second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most demoralizing loss of the season. And I don't even think it's particularly close. So, Joe, the question is, what is going on with Julio Rodriguez?
Lord divine, like, I have no clue. It's another situation where he's struggling through the month of April. Happened in 2022, albeit bad strike zone, and he's a rookie, so it's like whatever. Happened, in 2023, where we're okay. What's the deal here? Why? What is it a slow start? Is the weather? Whatever. And so everyone and their mother, myself included, was like, okay, Julio, He just needs to figure out how to not get off to a slow start, and body of work, everything that he put together in the second half of last year was like, all right, bet, like he'll be good to go. He will be okay. And unfortunately, in the first 16 games here, he's not doing the team particularly any favors right now. Batting 186, his slugging is 203. He struck out 21 times in 59 ABs. Like, Julio just seems lost. He seems like he's pressing. I agree with you that pinch running him makes sense given the way that the roster's kind of set up right now. You didn't have any other options. Your other option was Luis Urias or Sebi Savala. Like, you're not doing that. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Julio is the right call. For me, I'm having him get a little league lead, a softball lead. His foot is planted on the bag. I don't care. You cannot get out. And whether it's a mental lapse, he's trying to, get himself into a position to score like on any double, whatever. Like, it's tough to say.
He was going on that pitch. He was
he was leaning, yes, but I just think that realistically, truthfully, I don't know what I think. I don't know what's wrong with him because I'm not him and I'm not in part of that clubhouse. But hearing, he didn't want to make any comments towards the media, understandable. I wouldn't either. The clubhouse was quiet at the end of that loss. You said it was demoralizing. I expect that. The issue that I think I take with that, though, is who's going to step up and kind of like pull things back in. And you want it to be the leaders on your team, like JP, Mitch, whatever. But also it needs to come from the main guy. It needs to come from Julio. Like, he has to be a part of that conversation. I'm sure he is. It's just we're not hearing everything. But whether he just has to be in his own head. There's no other reason for me to believe that a top 4 MVP finish, rookie of the year, the year before, will one continue this very poor stretch of baseball, but also not be able to correct it himself. Like, if there's maybe too many voices in that dugout, like from the coaching staff that are maybe pushing him off, like making him imbalanced or any way, like in terms of his approach, like I don't know. There's no way I would know. It's just what we're seeing and what we have to kind of look at. And what we're looking at is not pretty baseball from Julio Rodriguez. End of story.
And a comment that he made in that start versus Shota Imanaga, with the bases loaded, where he had that single back up the middle, to Cody Bellinger, he made a comment after the game saying, "No, like I expect to come through in those situations. Like that, I prepare to come through in those situations, and I expect to." And I mean, again, this is the moniker that Julio Rodriguez has been given, and it's the one he wants. He wants to be the best player on that field every single day. And guys are gonna go through struggles. So Julio is bad right now. There is no two ways about it. Let me go through a few more of his numbers here. He is currently running a 33.3% strikeout rate. This is, again, small sample size, obviously. Which his career average is 25.5%. He has a 4.8% walk rate compared to his career average of 6.7%. Where's it at? His barrel percentage is down to 7.9%, whereas career it's 12.2%. He's not hitting the ball as hard at only 42.1%. And then, if I can find it here, he is grounding out about the same as he always has. His ground ball percentage in his career is 47%. Right now it's 47.7%. It's his fly ball percentage that isn't there. His career average is 34.2%. Right now, Julio Rodriguez has a 23.7% fly ball percentage. He's not hitting the ball in the air, and he's not hitting it with authority. And part of that is because he's not getting pitches to hit, of course, because it's Julio Rodriguez. Everyone knows how good this guy can be. Mm-hmm. And I think, like you said, this guy, he's lost. I feel for him. I do. Like, he's lost. He knows. Above everyone else, he knows how poorly he is playing right now. And it is unfortunate that the best player on your baseball team, the guy who is one of the faces of baseball, is going through this right now, and he's just hearing it. Man, he is hearing it from the fan base every single day. And I think, what should happen is when he steps onto that field for his first at bat Monday night versus the Reds, he should get a standing ovation. And you say, hey, you know what I mean?
We got your back, kind of a thing.
We got your back. I'm sure you feel like absolute crap after what happened yesterday, but we got your back. You're the guy. You're here for the next decade. All right. Nobody interacts with the fans more than Julio. he deserves it. He deserves to be out there and get a standing ovation when he's struggling. Because if the fans don't support him when he's as bad as he is right now, they don't deserve him when he's actually playing MVP caliber baseball. They don't. And again, I am very frustrated watching this team, as I'm sure everybody is right now. But again, the stars of your team have to be better. That includes JP, that includes Mitch Garver, that includes Julio. But Julio specifically, especially after that game-ending pickoff, I think he just needs it, man. He needs some sort. And I'm not just saying that because he's gonna get the Trey Turner effect and all of a sudden he's gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's gonna happen. I just think that he needs mentally, as a 22, 23-year-old, to know that all the fans in Seattle are behind him, even though he's played like crap. Because I guarantee he hasn't been hearing that much lately from a lot of the fans.
I think it's kind of poetic that you bring that up, because Stu on Twitter shared like a TikTok that I made a while back. It's basically just like what's his name? Mark from Maple Valley, whatever, from the off season. And it's talking about, this wouldn't happen if we were in Philly and New York. And you talk about like the grit and like how intense, like East Coast fan bases can be, or like that's what that sentiment is bringing. And then they gave Trey Turner a standing ovation after he struggled, and then he turned on the heater. Like he turned on the burners, got going. So it's kind of poetic, like the way that you're framing that. I'm in. I can't be there, but I think it'd be a nice gesture. Do I think it will happen? I'm not entirely certain of that, because I think, one, there's just frustration growing around the entirety of like the organization and like the team, not just Julio. So it'll be a bit more hard to conjure up, I would say. But whatever it takes to get Julio going, dude, whatever it takes, I'm in. Because there's one thing that this team needs. It's MVP caliber player to play like an MVP caliber player.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Like full stop. That would drastically affect this team offensively, just in general, if Julio was playing to a career norm outside of March and April. Like if he didn't have a negative WAR this year, maybe we're 7-9, maybe we're 8-8. Is he going to impact it that much? He has the potential to. And I think he certainly can. It's just like right now it's not happening for him. How do you correct that? Send him good vibes. I get where you're going with it, because you don't want him to just continue to be bogged down, especially going into another series against an NL Central opponent with the Reds coming to town on Monday. Of like, yeah, the Reds are a good team. Could the Mariners, go toe to toe with them? 100%, but not with how the top four in their order, the named guys of JP, Julio, Mitch Garver, like those continued struggles. Jorge Polanco got a big home run. He's heating up a bit. Good to see him, kind of like getting back in the right track, hopefully. So that was another nice thing to see from Sunday's game. But is it time to move on to the Reds series a little bit, Colty?
Well, let's talk. I just want to mention one more thing here.
Sure.
You said, hey, the whole team is struggling. Like it's not just Julio, so it's going to be a little bit harder. I completely agree. Like they, again, like you said, against Assad, mainly fastball guy, they still struggled. So it's clearly not just, they're getting a lot of breaking balls, so team no hit. No, it's every facet of baseball right now. Defensively, even on the pitching side, this team currently is broken. It's a broken team. There's no two ways around right now that this team is in a dark place. And they're searching for their identity. So Julio Rodriguez is someone that I think deserves our support, because he's been one of the best players in baseball, and he needs it tomorrow night versus the Reds, with Frankie Montas on the mound versus George Kirby. Joe, what do we expect to see out of this game?
Montas has been good to start the year. I just hope that George gets through 6. You need George to go out there and miss some barrels. He's been getting hit around a bit. Castillo is another thing. Like he was getting hit hard, on Sunday a little bit. I hope we see something change for George Kirby. The Mariners team just needs to not be behind going into a game that you're coming off of the worst loss this core has probably felt outside of like, the last game where you get eliminated, or Houston 2022 playoff. Like, as far as a regular season game goes, with no playoff implications going on right now, because it is April, that's probably the worst loss I think I've seen. And it could be recency bias. It very well could be. But you need to go out there and and save face. You just have to establish that this team can win a game, that they can go out there and play quality baseball for 9 innings. And if you can't do that, Lord help us, it's going to be a rough game on Monday against Cincinnati. Team that can hit. Ellie De La Cruz is off to a great start. Spencer Steer, I think, leads the league in RBI. Like, it's a good young group of offensive players and a pitching staff that's holding its own. Definitely holding its own so far. Anything you want to touch on game 1?
I mean, like you said, the Reds are a tough team. Even without Matt McLain and Noelvi Marte, they still have an incredible offense. And again, they play in the Great American Small Park in Cincinnati. But nonetheless, I mean, we look at the next few series for this team. I Bleav it's so after this series, I know they play the Rangers coming up soon. I don't know the exact schedule. So it goes Cincinnati at home. Then they're on their way to Colorado. They have the day off Thursday. They also have the day off Monday. So they have 2 days off that are flanking the Colorado series for some reason. They then fly to Texas and take on the Rangers, and then they come back home versus the Diamondbacks and the Braves before flying back out to Houston. So they've got a tough like trip ahead if they don't figure this dang thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when it comes to the Reds specifically, you gotta hit. You have to hit because they're gonna hit. And again, we've seen with George, he's been in the middle of the plate. He's been very hittable. I don't know. I don't know what to think about George's start because frankly, it's a toss-up right now. Are we going to see classic George Kirby? Or are we going to see 2024 George Kirby, who's been honestly really, really bad? Then in game 2, actually, you know what? No, game 1, Joe, we just got to we got to mention really quick. It's Jackie Robinson Day. All right. Jackie Robinson Day is on Monday, so very, very cool. All the players will be wearing number 42. I'm tomorrow Monday. Maybe I'll go. I'll go.
Celebrate Jackie Robinson Day at the park, dude. I don't know if I've never been to a Jackie Robinson Day game.
I don't think I have either. Yeah, and I need to.
Yeah. Go do that. Bring some good vibes, if not to the Mariners, to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, they're 0-2 so far in the games I've been to, but yeah.
Yeah, bring it back.
Okay.
A guy that, could bring it back for the Mariners in game 2 here against the Reds. Logan Gilbert has looked great all year long. Your ace, your Cy Young. I'm excited when I get to watch Logan Gilbert pitch the baseball. And so far in 2024, I'm excited for that game 2. He's up against Hunter Green. A very volatile pitcher, high strikeouts, also high walks, has shown some time, he also has blow-up starts. He has been a very inconsistent, I think, presence on the mound. I would take my money on Logan Gilbert over Hunter Green in game 2, but dude throws gas. Dude just does not stop throwing gas. Will that benefit the Mariners offensively? I wouldn't be inclined to think so, but if he throws it hard enough, they don't have to hit it as hard out, maybe? Because he's supplying a lot of the power? Copium.
Sounds good to me, dude.
I'm coping.
Yeah, Hunter Green. I mean, he is a guy who was a highly touted prospect for the Reds on the mound for quite some time. Has not necessarily found his groove in the big leagues. Yeah, he hasn't been bad per se, but he hasn't been great. I think I personally expected him to be insane just because he throws 104, and so. But again, I do think I agree with you. Give it to Logan that day because it's Logan. He's been the steadiest force in this Mariners rotation, him and Bryce Miller. And I think that Logan has a chance to go out there. And right now, when I look at who the stopper is in this rotation, it's Logan Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
He is, if there's something going on, which right now for the Mariners there is. Obviously, they lost in Sunday's game. He's the guy who can go out there and stop the bleeding. And you're right. The Mariners just need to go out there and win a damn series because they haven't yet. I think they might be the only team. What was the most recent nightmare fuel post where it was oh, has your team gotten 11 hits? Yes, of course. And every team in the league except for the Mariners has.
Yeah.
In one game. Yeah. Has your team won a series? Yes, of course. then there's just the Mariners. I don't know if that's true.
I doubt it.
The Marlins,
given the
probably
Marlins, but
yeah.
yeah.
That brings us to game 3 with Bryce Miller on the mound versus, who was it? Andrew Abbott?
I think it'd be Abbott, yeah.
Yeah, that's a game where I think the Mariners, like those, I'm not going to say pitching matchup favors the Mariners because we know how well that's gone for me so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say the Mariners have their 2 best starting pitchers on the mound in this series with Gilbert in game 2 and Miller in game 3. I don't know what to expect from this offense against anybody, let alone, Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, etc. Don't know what to expect. I expect nothing. Until proven otherwise, you can't expect much out of this offense. We can say we hope this is the series they get it going, but of course we're going to say that. We hope every series is a series they finally figured out. Until it happens, Joe, we just have to wait.
We're in the vicious cycle as it stands. And for this, by the time you're probably hearing this, I would assume a roster move has been made in place of Dom Canzone going on the IL, more than likely. I may have made the video a little early because I did not include Brian Anderson in that, who was lifted from the Tacoma Rainiers game that he was playing in like the 4th inning or something like that. So if it's Brian Anderson, kudos to all the Twitter warriors that were paying attention, unlike I. But Colton, take us away.
This next series for the Mariners is going to be one before they go on the road again, before they go face Colorado, and Colorado's a bad baseball team. The Mariners, if they don't win this series versus the Reds, they need to win that series, or so help me God.
I'm going to lose it.
I might keel over. But we'll talk about that next week, Joe, on Wednesday. What do you think?
I think so, yeah.
Sounds like a great plan to me. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 78 of the Hit It Here podcast presented by BetOnline. The 2020 Topps rookie card Kyle Lewis episode of the Hit It Here podcast. And go Mariners.